Can you have a practically pain-free birth with a breech baby? Can you even deliver a breech baby vaginally? Yes, you actually can. I know that's surprising because most doctors and hospitals automatically recommend a C-section if the baby is breech. But Sage wanted a vaginal birth even with a baby being breech, and all of the circumstances worked out for her to be able to do that. And so today I'm going to read through some of her birth story with you so that you can be inspired by how things went for her, and especially if you are considering that you may have to do a breech delivery. Okay, so she gives a lot of detail, which I can't take the time to read all of that, but I'll just update you real quick on the first part of her story. She knew that her baby was breech, and they had tried an EVC to turn the baby. She tried everything. The baby just wouldn't turn. And so she called around and found a doctor in a hospital that would let her attempt a vaginal birth of a breech baby if everything was healthy and they thought things were fine. So when she went into the hospital, they, of course, again, tried to get her to do a C-section. She said she didn't want to. They said, well, we want to try an EVC at least once before giving up on it. And they wanted her to get an epidural to do that. And she explains that she really didn't want an epidural. And it's not because she was trying to be tough. It's because she's scared of the very, very small risk that she could have a complication with that. And she felt that she'd rather endure the pain of an EVC because it is pretty uncomfortable than to get the epidural. Her personal choice. Okay. So the EVC was not successful, and they allowed her to do to attempt a vaginal delivery because the baby's heart rate was good and everything seemed fine, other than that risk of the baby being breech. Okay, so that's where we're at in her story. She says, it was getting too hard to focus on relaxing in that position, so I wanted help moving. I was feeling a lot of pressure and told everyone so with each contraction that came. The nurse, let's see, I'm going to skip through a little bit more. I thought to myself that maybe I was going through transition. I told everyone I didn't like the squats and wanted to be on the bed. The nurse and my husband helped me onto my side, and I kept insisting that there was a lot of pressure and that I wanted to push. The nurse asked if I wanted the doctor to check my cervix. I said yes. I may have mostly been yelling my communications at that point. She called the doctor, but was told the doctor was busy. It was a little after 6 p.m., so it could have been the meeting that they were having as they were transitioning from shifts. The nurse told me to try to get through 2 more contractions. The next contraction, my body pushed and my water broke in a very dramatic gush that went everywhere. I'm pushing, he's coming, I explained, definitely completely calm. The nurse called the doctor and insisted she had to come right away, that my water had broken and I was pushing. The doctor rushed in and told me she was going to check my cervix. I think I may have shouted no at her, not because I didn't want her to, but because I knew it was pointless. He was coming whether she was ready for him or not. Yeah, he's right there. We need to get her to the OR right now. At least that got everyone moving. They rushed me in and I could feel him coming out as I pushed in the hallway. So just a side point, they were going to the OR because she was delivering a breech baby and they wanted to be ready in case they decided that she needed to do a C-section. So they put my bed next to the operating table and I shouted, I can't. No one understood what I meant. They reassured me that I could do this, that I had done this before, and that I was doing so well. What I really meant was there was no way that I was going to make it from the bed I was on to the bed next to me. Luckily, my nurse said just that and told everyone I was having the baby in this bed and that they needed to break it down and get out the stirrups. They told me to roll onto my back and I shouted, I can't. I couldn't move myself even if I wanted to. Still, no one understood what I meant, so they all said reassuring words. Luckily, they moved me, and when everything down there was visible, a doctor tapped on my husband and said, look, the butt is born. My husband had already seen. The doctors told me I needed to put my legs on the stirrups. I can't. Still, no one understood. Yes, you can, Sage. You're doing great, came out of a half a dozen mouths. Once someone had put my legs in the stirrups, you can push, I heard being said. I don't think I really had a choice. I pushed with each contraction. His legs came out, and I felt a relief in pressure. His body came out in the next couple of pushes. Then the head doctor stuck her fingers in to tuck the baby's chin down. I screamed, what are you doing? It was painful since the whole area was sore from pushing out half a baby. They explained and told me to push out the head. I bared down and his head came out. They placed him on my chest, but he was white and not breathing. They quickly cut his cord and took him to the incubator to suction his lungs and give him oxygen. I heard him start crying, and my husband reassured me that he was okay. The doctor who stayed with me to deliver the placenta told me that I had no tearing, and the nurses told me it was amazing to see everything that had just happened because it was rare that they saw a breech vaginal delivery. Then they returned the baby to me a few minutes later, and I was wheeled back into my awaiting family. Everyone was amazed I was back so quickly. We'd gotten to the OR at 6:07 p.m., and he was born at 6:12 p.m. I pushed for a total of about 7 minutes. He was perfectly healthy, and I felt elated. Okay, so and that's kind of a lot of detail, but like I said, these vaginal breech deliveries are absolutely doable, but they're not common because of hospital policy that just strongly discourages it, even though they can be done. Now, one thing I want to point out is that if you are considering a vaginal breech delivery, it's really important that you have a doctor that is experienced in that knows what they're doing and is willing to take you on. You can switch doctors just like she did. She switched at the last minute when she found out that the baby was definitely breech and they were not going to be able to move the position of the baby. So she called around and found a doctor who would take her and deliver that baby. It's really important. You also need to make sure that the hospital policies will allow the doctor to deliver that breech baby. But this story is beautiful, it's encouraging, and I hope that it has inspired you. And if you don't know, I have a free online birth class called How to Give Birth with Practically No Pain. Sage went through that program, and she used all the things we taught to be able to deliver her baby, including we have a whole unit that talks about breech babies and all the things you need to know if you find yourself facing a breech delivery. So if you're interested in giving birth with practically no pain, click the link below to join my free class.